Hey everyone, it's Katie with Mountain Modern Life, and today I'm going to be sharing another pregnancy update video with you, walking through weeks 14 to 20. So the anatomy scan is included in there, which is pretty exciting. And if you are new here, my husband and I are expecting our baby in August after 3 miscarriages in the first trimester. I did do a first trimester recap, which you can also watch. And in there I kind of talk a little bit more about our history and our backstory. But this pregnancy, everything has been going great so far, and I'm really excited and just really grateful for that. So let's go ahead and dive into week 14. So in week 14, I was still experiencing nausea and fatigue, although it wasn't nearly as strong as it had been during the first trimester. The main thing I wrote down for that week is that I just felt haggard and kind of out of it. I was also having some round ligament pain, I was congested, and I was having heartburn, and I had a migraine, but overall, haggard seemed to be the word that I was just describing how I felt that week. I also was sleeping really hot, and I was waking up quite a bit from hip pain because when I was sleeping on my left side, I'd wake up with just like a sore, achy hip, and so I was having to switch sides more often. And then as far as cravings go, I was really into cheese and mustard sandwiches. So I don't eat meat, and before this pregnancy, I wasn't eating cheese, but since I've been pregnant, I have been eating a lot of cheese. But cheese and mustard sandwiches is like all I wanted at that point, and really all I put on it was cheese, mustard, and chips on my gluten-free bread, and I pretty much wanted that morning, afternoon, and night. Like, it was all I wanted. The other thing is orange juice started to sound good again. So up until that point, it had just tasted kind of off to me. But that week, I started to crave orange juice again. And I actually had a Dr. Pepper that week, which I have been craving soda quite a bit during the first trimester, which I don't drink soda maybe a couple times a year. I'm just not a big soda drinker. But I've been craving it. And that week I finally gave in and I bought a Dr. Pepper, and I just remember feeling like it was heaven when I was drinking it. And it's so weird because even when I did drink soda, I really didn't drink Dr. Pepper. Eric's a huge Dr. Pepper fan, so he drinks that a lot, but I just didn't. And when I had it, it was just crazy that I was like obsessed with Dr. Pepper at that point. The other things that happened that week is it was the first time I actually worked out since being pregnant. I had gotten the Studio Bloom membership, so I was working out to Studio Bloom, which, if you're not familiar, they have a lot of prenatal and postnatal workouts, and also a lot of exercises to help with your pelvic floor. So that was the first time I did that since being pregnant, and it felt really good to actually be able to do a workout aside from walking around. And the other thing is I received my pregnancy journal that I had ordered. So something I noticed is that whenever I had an appointment, I would generally feel really confident and good about the pregnancy because things were progressing really well. We were hearing the heartbeat, everything was going good. And then about a week later, I would always start to feel a little bit more nervous and kind of anxious. So when I ordered the pregnancy journal, it was right after we had had a good appointment. And when I got it, it had been about a week. So I just remember feeling like uncertain about actually writing in it because I was just in that like, oh, I want to make sure everything's okay. I'm going to wait till the next appointment, but then I'll write in it. Then I'll feel better. It's always like, oh, I'm going to feel better after the next appointment, after the next one. And it was just like these little milestones. So, I mean, it's kind of sad in a way, but I think it's also, normal. I felt like everything was good. I knew we had an appointment in a week, so I just wanted to wait for that to happen. But that was week 14. So then in week 15, it was a lot of the same symptoms as the week before. Congestion, coughing, throat clearing, nausea, and fatigue, although there were bigger gaps in between than the week before. So it was improving. I did have a migraine, some pretty bad migraines that week. I also had heartburn, although it was mostly at night. I overall just felt icky. Like, that's kind of the word I was using a lot in my notes, is just feeling icky. I was sleeping really hot, and I was running out of breath a lot quicker. I had been running out of breath pretty, quickly since I'd been pregnant. but I just feel like it was more noticeable. It was happening even quicker than it had been. So yeah. As far as cravings go, I was craving blueberry muffins, Oreos, which I did get some gluten-free vegan Oreos that week, and still craving Dr. Pepper. I was able to drink more water finally, which was nice because up until that point it had been really hard for me to drink water, which normally I drink a lot of water, but it had been challenging. So at that point I was finally able to drink it more easily. Still had to be cold, which to this day it still needs to be cold for me to drink it, but I was just happy I could drink it. And some of the bigger things that happened that week are we did have our 15-week ultrasound, which we just had at like a local place that we had been going to, and that was amazing. We heard the heartbeat, and baby was facing my back, so we weren't able to get any good pictures or photos or videos or photos, but I was okay with that because really I just wanted to hear the heartbeat. So that went really good, and I started working out to Supernatural that week, which if you're not familiar with it, it's like a VR workout on the Oculus Quest. I have the Oculus Quest 2, and basically it's like you're in these different environments all around the world, like on mountaintops or by the ocean, and it's just like these beautiful environments. And then there's these music playlists, like all different kinds, and you work out. It's hard to explain, but it's so much fun. And I hadn't been able to do it since I was pregnant, but that week I actually felt a lot more confident, less nauseous, so I was able to do it. And I started at like a lower level, but it was just really nice and fun to be able to get back into that. And then the other thing that I did that week is I finally ordered a pregnancy pillow. I had been looking at pregnancy pillows for like off and on for like a week or two because I had been sleeping so awful, but it was kind of overwhelming. I finally made a decision and I went with the Buffy Wiggle pillow, which is, it's like a body pregnancy pillow, and honestly, it's amazing. I freaking love it. I have other Buffy products, like I've bought their bedding, so I'm familiar with it, but the pillow is just so comfy. And there weren't many like reviews or videos on it that I could find at the time, so I'll probably do one. I did pay for it myself, but I'm just obsessed with it, so it may not be for everybody, but yeah, I just want to talk about it. I just want to carry it around with me. It's actually, you can't tell, but it's actually behind here. It's like a really long pillow, and that's one of the reasons I really liked it, is I wanted something that wouldn't take up the whole bed. So I like that it can kind of be hidden if I want, or I could move it up here. And just on a side note, we have a California king, and since I've been pregnant, I move around a lot more, flipping, and with all the pillows, trying to get situated. We actually flipped the mattress so that it's wider, and in doing so, our headboard was all funky, so we took it down. So I was trying to wait and see if I want to keep this way, and I think I do. So we'll have to figure out a new headboard situation. But anyways, that pillow is amazing. I will have to talk about it more later, but it's my favorite. So that's what happened in week 15. So then week 16, again, it was a lot of the same symptoms, coughing, throat clearing. I mean, allergies were starting to get bad too, so that was not helping. But I was also experiencing more around ligament pain. The nausea and fatigue were more in the morning or evening, but as soon as I ate something, it seemed to go away. So it was definitely getting much better. The headaches were starting to ease up, but the heartburn was like starting to become all day. I would wake up with heartburn, and I would wake up in the middle of the night with heartburn. Like, it would actually wake me up. So the heartburn was like insane. And as far as cravings go, I was craving apple juice and apple turnovers. Like, I had to have apple turnovers. Banana cream pie, which I didn't have, but I was craving it. If there was a place nearby that had vegan, gluten-free banana cream pie, I would have gotten it. But when I looked up recipes, it looked like too much work, and I was way too tired to actually make it. But I was craving it. And cake. I was craving cake. And I'm really not a sweets person, so it was just like funny to me that everything I wanted was some kind of sweets, especially cake. I'm really not a big cake person. And even to this day, like, cake sounds so good. So yeah, it's kind of funny. And then as far as aversions go, I wasn't really having too many aversions during these weeks. Garlic and onions are the only thing that I really remember like kind of staying away from, but the smell of ground beef really was not, like, I could not handle it. I hadn't really been able to handle it before, but I feel like it got worse that week. Not that Eric eats a lot of it, but I don't eat meat, but whenever I would smell like chicken or some other kind of meat, it didn't bother me so much. But the smell of ground beef, like, I couldn't even have, like, he couldn't even sit next to me and eat it because it was just way too bad. And I feel like that week the dogs also seemed stinkier, so I don't know if like my smell was just extra strong that week or what, but yeah. So that was week 16. So week 17 again was a lot of the same symptoms as the week before: congestion, coughing, throat clearing. The nausea and fatigue was a lot better that week. I did have a lot more energy, which was great. I was actually able to finish up a label for a lip balm that we created for Grandpa's Good Earth. If you're not familiar, Eric's family actually has a farm out in Wisconsin, and they've been distilling peppermint essential oil for a really long time. And we actually teamed up with them a few years ago to actually sell products to the public. So we have like peppermint essential oil and roll-ons, inhalers, and we had wanted to make a lip balm or a chapstick. We finally had one created, but they were waiting on me to make the label, which I had planned to do before Christmas, but just I got way too sick and tired, and just my brain wasn't working. So I finally, during this week, week 17, I was able to finally get the label done. It's not even like it took me that long. It was just like I needed clarity, and that week I finally felt like less foggy, which was really nice. So those will actually be in the shop soon. Shameless plug, grandpasgoodearth.com. And we're on Etsy too. So, oh, but because I was able to work more and I was sitting in my desk chair, which is normally really comfortable, I noticed I was having a lot more tailbone, just kind of like discomfort. Like if I sat, like getting up, I felt like I was like sliding out of my chair because I was so uncomfortable. So I did order like some tailbone cushions. I also ordered some yoga balls. Like I ordered one and it was too big because I wanted to use it as my desk chair. One was too big, one was too small because I'm short and apparently my desk is a little tall. But finally I did. There's this one cushion that I am using. It's super comfortable, and I have a stool under my desks for my feet. So I feel like now I'm like better aligned. Everything's more comfortable. So it's not perfect, but I can actually sit there and work a lot more efficiently now. So the other thing that I noted for that week is that showers were making me super sleepy, which I think had kind of been going on a little bit before that. But instead of taking a shower and it waking me up, if I took a shower, I would feel exhausted and want to go sleep. I was also kind of burpy that week. Some things that I was craving were apple juice, my omelet, my mung bean omelet that I had kind of been iffy about off and on for the prior weeks. It started to sound good again. And we also got purple carrot that week. So we had used purple carrot and Green Chef and a few others in the past for just like for meals at night, but we hadn't done that since I was pregnant because I was having so many food aversions and really picky about what I was eating. But this week we were able to order that, and the main reason is because I wanted to start eating healthy, but it's like I couldn't remember what that even was, which sounds so weird, but I felt like I've been eating crap for so long that I was like, what did I even used to eat? I couldn't remember. And I also didn't want to have to think about what to make. I wanted someone to just tell me what to make. So, so we signed up for purple carrot that week. We got the meals and they were so good. And I was just so grateful I was able to eat them. There was like one thing that I thought might be kind of weird, like the ingredients. I wasn't sure about the flavor, and even that was good. So it just felt nice to eat a healthy meal and to not have to think about what I was cooking, to just have the recipe and be good to go. So the other things that happened that week are we did have another appointment. We had our Doppler appointment, so we were able to hear the baby's heartbeat. which was amazing. And what's funny is on the way there, so just so you know, our doctor, we've been to a lot of different places in the past, and I finally found a doctor at a practice that I really, really like, but they are a little bit far. With traffic, it can be like close to an hour and a half because traffic is so bad. It should only be like an hour, but it always ends up taking like an hour and a half to get there. And I was still having pretty bad car sickness, so I wouldn't get nauseous so much during the day, but if I was in the car, I would get car sick if I wasn't driving. But we drove to the appointment. I was so car sick. So on the way home, I drove home, and that helped a lot. So that was good. But we had blood work done that week. I think it was for spina bifida, and it came back low risk. And the other thing is I had felt something like a fluttering. I wasn't sure. I had read about what baby movement can feel like. And I was like, maybe that's it. I think that feels different than anything I felt before, but I wasn't really sure. And it only happened once, and then I was like waiting, and I didn't feel it again. So I thought maybe I felt fluttering, but I just wasn't sure yet. So that was week 17. So then in week 18, I was feeling pretty irritable. I was getting annoyed pretty easily, which I'm sure was really fun for Eric. But I also had some days of nausea where I was back kind of most of the day, which was really sucky. And I also just wrote that I felt flu-like. So I was feeling really weak and tired. And I think the biggest thing is that I was having more energy for the most part. So when I had energy, I was doing a lot. Excuse me. I was doing a lot, and then I was basically the next day I'd be useless because I just did way too much and I'd be wore out, and I would feel like I got hit by a truck. So I was having to kind of balance my energy and kind of like keep some in reserve so that I wouldn't overdo it. As far as cravings go, I was still craving blueberry muffins, which I was eating. I was craving breakfast burritos, which I had been having off and on the weeks prior, but just having my vegan egg in a breakfast burrito was like my favorite thing. And we had gotten Green Chef that week. I think we just preferred the meals that week, but it was just really nice to have another week of like healthy dinner where I didn't have to think about it. Plus it was getting me back into cooking because I don't know, I wanted that like inspiration and motivation to be able to cook more healthy meals again, and it was definitely helping. And then one of the other big things that happened that week that was exciting is I felt some more fluttering, and I wasn't sure still if it was the baby moving, but I was like pretty sure. Like I wrote, I'm 99% sure that's the baby moving, but I'm not positive. So yeah, it was just fun to feel something a little different. So that was week 18. So then in week 19, again, it was a lot of the same symptoms from the week before. The nausea was pretty non-existent except maybe in the morning if I waited too long to eat. That was pretty much the only time it showed up is in the morning, and then I'd eat and it would be fine. And I was definitely having some pregnancy brain moments. I was on my computer one day and I looked down to look something up on my phone and to like type on it, and when I did, I realized I was typing on a dry eraser, and I was like, oh my gosh, pregnancy brain. I was also running out of breath pretty quick when I was cleaning. I know that I was having to take a lot more breaks, especially when vacuuming, and I took McNally to the park, and I actually had to sit on the bench a couple of times just to catch my breath. And working out to Supernatural, I was also having to kind of shorten my workouts a little bit more. And I had been taking breaks pretty much between each song to get water and kind of just like catch my breath. Even if I didn't really need to, I've just been trying to be extra cautious about it. And then as far as cravings go, I was craving apple juice and roasted cashews and breakfast burritos. So some of the bigger things that happened that week is I felt the baby moving, and that's the time where I knew, I was like, okay, this is definitely the baby moving. So the feeling I had in week 17 and 18, that was definitely that feeling. It was just not very much of it, and it was so quick, but it was cool to be like, okay, this is definitely the baby moving. So that was just I've been waiting for that, so it was just super magical. So we had the anatomy scan at the end of week 19, which was super exciting, and we're able to see baby move and hear the heartbeat. And there were two things the doctors did mention. One was that they were measuring a little bit bigger, like the stomach was bigger, like the ounces. I think she was saying they were weighing like 12 ounces, and I think it was for that week, it was typical to be more around 10. She said that that wasn't an issue. It just means they may be a bigger baby, but also there's a lot of time for things to kind of balance out. She said we may have to just keep an eye on it, but she didn't seem concerned about that at all. The other thing is they said that they noticed there was a bright spot on the heart, which I believe they called EIF, which she said she wasn't concerned about. I guess it can be a marker for certain issues, but she said because we had testing done and everything was low risk, and even then she said that they see this a lot more often on ultrasounds. She didn't know if it was because of the technology, but she said most of the time it either clears up, or even if it doesn't actually cause any heart defects or anything. So she didn't seem worried about it. I did Google it even so when I got home, but even in forums, it seemed like a lot of people where that showed up, it didn't turn out to really be anything. So I was like, I'm not going to worry about it. So that was there. But overall, it went great, and it definitely made this pregnancy feel even more real. I mean, I know it's real, but I've been so nervous in a sense, like not terribly so, but I've definitely had some anxiety in the back of my mind and not certain just because of our past history. But getting to the halfway mark definitely made me go, okay, like this is happening. And while like nothing is guaranteed, I certainly feel a lot more confident in this pregnancy, and like I can kind of sink into it a little bit more. And after that scan, I actually had gotten an email because I had looked into some different like online birthing classes, and hypnotherapy is one that I had been really interested in, that I had heard about a couple of years ago. So I had signed up for different like emails just because I'm like, well, it might be a little early now, but maybe they'll have like some specials, or maybe I'll just kind of slowly kind of start learning things through osmosis. And I actually got an email, I think it was the day we got back from our anatomy scan, that I think it's a Positive Birth Company, which I had heard good things about. Excuse me. Their pricing is really amazing without any kind of discount. It's really good. But they actually were running a promotion that day, and it was only like $15 for their hypnobirthing online course. And it's normally only like $55, so it's still really, really good. But I was like, okay, totally gonna buy that now because that's a great price. So I went ahead and bought it, and I even watched a few of the videos, and so that was, I didn't know too much about it, and watching just those first few videos made me feel so much more at ease about giving birth, and I'm actually really, really excited to dive even more into the hypnobirthing course. So anyway, so that happened all on week 19. So then in week 20, again, it was a lot of the same symptoms, a lot of congestion and coughing, throat clearing, especially as allergies just kind of continued. I swept off our deck one night, and the next morning it was just completely filled with more pollen. The cars are covered, the sidewalks are covered, the pollen is just everywhere. It's so bad. And then I did have some pregnancy brain moments. At one point when I was cooking dinner, I was reaching into the cupboard to grab some kind of spices, and I noticed that I had put something from the fridge into the cupboard that morning, so I had to throw it out. So yeah. The other thing is, like, my memory is just like so bad. I had to drive to the store kind of further away, and like I was worried my charger was being weird, so my phone wasn't like charging properly, and I was like, oh, I can't remember like how to get home. Like there's like a bunch of different, it sounds really weird, but there was just like a lot of turns, and I was just like, I just want my navigation to tell me where to go. And I was trying to look at it to memorize it in case my phone died, which thankfully it didn't. But it was like the first 4 steps, I'm like, I would read it and I would forget. I would read it and I would forget. It's like, I just could not remember. And I'm like, I don't know how anyone who has to like memorize, who has to memorize anything, like can do it while pregnant. Cause it's just, I don't know. It's been really hard. Even I have my notes here and I'll read it and then I'll put it down and I'll forget. like 5 seconds later, I'm like, I don't know what I just read. So pregnancy brain is, oh, it is so real. Speaking of my notes, let's see. My energy was a lot better in week 20. Oh, I could also exhale a little bit longer. One of the breathing exercises in hypnobirthing, it's like you breathe in for 4 and you breathe out for 8. And she even mentioned like, oh, when you're pregnant, you know, you may only be able to breathe out for 6 at first. And it's funny because that's all I could do. I would breathe in for 4 and I would be out of air by 6. So it's like, but in week 20, I noticed when I was practicing it, I could actually breathe out for 8. So that was interesting that my exhale was getting, maybe it was just from practice, but I felt like I was able to let out more air, which was nice. And then also, my bump just definitely felt like it grew. And it was started feeling kind of tighter. Eric and I started, well, not Eric, but I definitely started falling asleep a lot earlier. Like I would just pass out, which happened earlier on, but then it kind of hasn't happened in a while. But in week 20, I definitely was just so tired. I would make dinner, I would eat, and then I would just be like ready to pass out. The really fun thing that happened in week 20 is I could feel the baby moving so much more. It was just so amazing, so magical. One night I was actually just laying in bed and I started giggling because it was tickling. But it's just the best feeling. I just love it. As far as cravings go, I was obsessed with Nature's Bakery blueberry fig bars. Had to be blueberry, and not all the stores had the gluten-free ones, so I had to like find them at different stores, but I just was obsessed. I'm still obsessed with them. So that and lemonade were the 2 main things that I was just really, really craving in week 20. But overall, this pregnancy has been going great. I feel super grateful, especially now that I'm feeling movement. It is so magical and it definitely helps put me at ease. Before, it's like we were having our appointment with our doctor and then I was making extra appointments nearby just to kind of get that extra reassurance when I was feeling nervous, to hear the heartbeat. But now that I can feel movement, I don't feel like I need that in between. So it feels good to be here. And it's also, I feel like I'm actually really starting to lean into the pregnancy and see the future with this baby. And I think the thing that I'm looking forward to most though is when Eric can feel the baby move. So that's something that I just can't wait for, so that he can experience that with me. But that about wraps up weeks 14 to 20. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them below. Don't forget to subscribe for updates. If you have any recommendations for the registry, be sure to leave a comment and let me know. And yeah, I'll be back with another update in a few more weeks. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.